Hello, and welcome to the Big Brother in Our House podcast, week number 7. Yeah, week number 7. um, and a great week it was. Unfortunately, we saw one of my favorite players in the house, Davon, leave this week. But we'll get all into that. Before we start, I would like to introduce my co-host. As always, we've got Scott. Scott, how are you doing?
Hey guys, sarcastic Big Brother fan 47 here. Welcome back to the Give Cody the 500 grand show. We're gonna review that. Anyways, all kidding aside, I'm happy to be here. Happy to be back. Another good week of Big Brother.
All right. So, as always, I guess we'll start with the evicted. So we had Davon and Kevin on the block. HOH was Memphis. So Davon, unfortunate to see her go. I think I've said it in the podcast already, but in case I haven't, she has been one of my favorite players to watch this season. And it's kind of a shame to see her go. She played well. She had it just like in her other season. She had a very good understanding of what was going on. But she kind of trusted people way too much. She kind of trusting Nicole especially was her big downfall, it seemed like. Even though it crushed Nicole to have to lie to her all week, it definitely was her downfall in trusting Nicole and Danny and not trusting David. But I mean, while I was watching the episodes, I was thinking of one day Vaughn finally does watch the episodes, and she sees that she's been played all week and how much that's going to crush her. But yeah. What did you think of Davon's gameplay this season?
I really enjoyed watching Devon play. I do have to say, I think her biggest mistake, I agree with you, was she was way too loyal to people. And I even think, her and Bailey being an untouchable alliance, even that really hurt her game because, people saw, hey, she's, these two are a guaranteed couple. If they end up in the final three, they're not taking any of you, right? They're taking each other. And, you even see she got loyal to Danny and Nicole later, who were just using it to Victor. Even though they did want to, they did try and keep her, it definitely wasn't something they were completely loyal to, right? And, I think at this point in the game, Davon really had no choice but to go along with it because it was kind of just a Hail Mary when, you got the big alliance running things.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, but Davon, this was the best game she played in her 3 seasons of Big Brother. And that's good to see, she was terrible in her first season. She was like second out. And she was the first jury member, and this time she's the second jury member. And I think she definitely had what it took to go a lot further. And I do think this is the last time Devon does play Big Brother, unfortunately. But you know what? She had a good run, and if only there wasn't, pre-game things happening, she could have gone a lot further.
Yeah, and that's exactly what was wrong with just the pregame stuff as always. But she did try to form a three-person alliance with Nicole and Danny, and there seemed to be some loyalty with that this week and last week. Though maybe not throughout the whole season, but but certainly recently. But she just kind of was the main target this week. Like everyone kind of figured that alliance out, and once they figured that out, they were like, okay, well, one of them is on the block, so we'll just vote that person out. And Kevin is also kind of, after losing Davon, kind of a lone wolf in this game now too, so it doesn't make sense to evict Kevin. So I think that's how most people saw it this week. But with Kevin, Kevin stays alive one more week. I think this is his 3rd or 4th time on the block. Fourth in 7 weeks. So the ultimate pawn, to put it in Danny's terms. And she's just playing the pawn game. That's literally it. I don't know how much longer his stay in the Big Brother house is going to be. Um, but he's just there to sit as the pawn pretty much this whole season, and it's kind of upsetting because I know Kevin's capable of a lot, but he's just kind of on the outside of that big alliance, and it's not working out for him.
I
So
don't know who's going to be HOH next week, but I bet it happens again. I bet you he's going to be on the block next week.
yeah, I mean the
And I'm saying
odds
this
are
with
the odds are
so
about
I should. Sorry, I'm early doing my hot takes. I know we do that at the end, but I put money on him being on the block. Just knowing, committee members winning HOH, they're gonna, steamroll.
yeah.
Sarcasm's coming back, but anyways,
I mean, like, there's 8 people left in the house, 9 people left in the
six
house.
more.
I Oh no, there's 10 people left in the
Yeah,
house. There's ten
no,
people left in the house. One,
no,
four,
11, 10,
eight. There's
9,
nine people left in the house. Um, and I think all those people but David would probably put him up. So
Yeah.
he's kind of the odds are not in his favor. But I don't think he's target number one in the house right now. I don't think if he goes up, I think he's just another pawn again.
Yeah,
To be
you're getting
honest,
zero. You're getting zero blood on your hands putting
yeah.
Kevin out.
Because other people have spoken about what their targets are, and now we're kind of at the point in the game where it's time to start splitting up that big alliance. It's looking like so.
Agree, 100%. I think we could soon see that big alliance starting to fall, right? Because and that's the thing about David and Kevin is now they're lone wolves. The smarter players are going to see that there's no point in really evicting them at this point. It's now time to start turning on the committee. I think the committee's done. I
Yeah,
think you're gonna. I think like we've seen this week, we've seen alliances in the committee starting to form with when the inevitable turning point on the committee happens, right? And Enzo's got his Jersey boys with Cody, uh, and we saw Danny and Nicole try and do something with Davon that obviously didn't fruition, but Memphis and Enzo, right? I think Enzo's sitting in a good spot. Enzo's got a lot of people he's
yeah.
aligned with, right? So,
I mean, we could get
it's
to
very interesting.
we can do one person at a time here instead of just everyone.
Yeah.
um, but
So Davon and Kevin are talked about.
but yeah, Davon and
Well,
Kevin, and then I guess we'll talk about David next because he's also kind of on the outside.
right.
Very interesting week for David, so I kind of want to go into David a little bit because David, well, he started the week, um, and he was kind of the main target of the week. Memphis made a deal with him saying that, hey, don't go for the veto, and you'll be safe. And that was obviously a fake deal because he would have put him up. And
Yep.
Tyler was like, that's a stupid plan. So that didn't happen. So David kind of got saved on that. But David at the start of the week was looking really bad. And at the end of the week, he's looking like he might make it farther than we all think. Because this is what I want to say. So David at the start of the week, everyone was like trying to pinpoint the Ian vote on him, right? And everyone
Yep.
was trying, or not everyone, Danny and Nicole were trying to pinpoint that vote on him, and he wasn't looking great. Like everyone was kind of like, okay, it might be time for him to go. But as things kind of moved on throughout the week, kind of he still didn't have Davon or Kevin's trust again. But it was interesting to see that Tyler was like, he's a lone wolf in this game, and now we can use him as a number, pull him in. So I think that's a lot of people were thinking that. And then we even saw at the end of the week, we saw Tyler and Christmas were talking, and they were saying that it's that if we can make David go after Danny and Nicole, that's on our side. So I think that David's safe because of that. So Tyler and Christmas promised him safety till week 8 if his main targets are Danny and Nicole. Christmas then went to David and said, "Hey, look, I know what the votes were last week. Nicole voted Ian out, and I know that you're telling the truth." And that really made David like, okay, Nicole's trying to like ruin my game. And now Nicole and Danny are his number one biggest targets. So I think he can actually last quite a while in this game if the committee does break up this week, which I predict it will. I think this is the week where
I
it
agree.
all explodes.
I agree.
So David's actually looking a lot better. I don't think he's a threat to win the game. But he is the type
Yeah.
of player that if Tyler and Christmas are kind of making their way up and they're in final 5 together, they might look at keeping David along with the journey to know that they're going to win in final 2 against David.
Yeah.
And David has been vocal about kind of wanting to get targets out that are in line with their targets. So that's kind of what I
The
want
last
from David. He
the last thing I'll say about David is I think he's made it further than anybody at the beginning thought he would, right? And I think the fact that he's still here, some might say it's a joke, some might say that's an accomplishment. And I think where I'll give credit where credit's due, David's social game, it's not as bad as people think it is, right?
Mhm.
You know, he's probably the kind of guy, Cody and Tyler, he's not for Cody and Tyler and for, whoever wants to work with him, right? He's not going to win you competitions, but he's a number.
Mhm.
And in a game where numbers matter, that's the most important thing here in the situation is, if you're Cody Tyler, let's just say, I think Cody and Tyler see David as more of an ally, even though he did throw him under the bus early in the season. I think they're over that. I think it's late in the game. David's looking to do anything to stay. That, you see, like, okay, Cody and Tyler say, okay, look, we can win the competitions. David is going to be the extra number as a vote. And, for Cody and Tyler to have 2 votes, to control 2 of the votes during the week, at this stage of the game, we're at the final 9. So that means what? 3 votes for a tie?
Mhm.
So, that's 2 votes right there. That's really significant.
Yeah.
And then you get Enzo on board. There's your 3. And if they all vote, everyone else votes the other way, you still got the tiebreaker. So, I think definitely, David, I think people are viewing David as, you know what? If he's a number for us, not a bad idea to keep around.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this week is the week where we're going to see division. We're going to see basically Danny and Nicole versus Kevin versus David versus Tyler and Cody Enzo, pretty much, and Memphis. Like that's kind of going to be how the house is going to be laid out this week, I think. Because now, I mean, it's obvious. Like Nicole and Danny voted differently than everyone else, and I think everyone in the house knows exactly who those 2 votes were. So
All right.
there's going to
Speaking
be
of,
division this week. This is a very
oh
important
yeah,
head of household. Um,
100%.
but
Speaking of
speaking,
Enzo, yeah, I'm just going into Enzo because I let them eat. Then after that, it's just the committee left. Which,
yeah, we could do that.
so Enzo, I think you and I were talking before we started recording, and we were saying like it's his game to lose. He's got alliances with everybody, except for maybe like David. I think like even I think even him and Kevin have something, because you know I think like early in the season they were like, I like you, yo, whatever, and Enzo was really trying to help Kevin stay in the house, or like earlier, like week 1, week 2, when he was on the block, right? So I think Kevin and Enzo, they wouldn't get rid of each other.
Hmm.
So I
Yeah.
think Enzo's pretty much something with everyone except for David, right? And David's not really gonna get you out. I think David has bigger fish to fry before Enzo.
Yeah. So Enzo's kind of really set up in this game. I mean, Enzo's in a final three with Cody. He's in a final three
Mhm.
with He's in a final three with Memphis, two of them actually. He's in a final three with Tyler. He's in a final. He's good with good with Kevin. Um, the only people he doesn't really have a final three with is Danny and Nicole. And
Mhm.
I don't think any of them are gunning for him. And David,
No.
as you said, he might be a number for him, but he's not gonna like neither of them are going after each other. So
And Danny Nicole have bigger
there's no
fish
one
to fry.
going after Enzo. Even if Danny or
Right.
Nicole were to win the head of household this week, I think that they
Yeah,
got bigger fish to fry. Like they'll put up
exactly.
David or someone. They're not worried about Enzo right now. And Enzo, even though
Exactly.
he's not in the committee, that could be something that you bring to the final two, and you're sitting next to someone like Cody, and you say, "Hey, look, I know, like, I know that there was a six-person alliance because I'm sure he knows, right? I
Yeah.
know there was a
Yeah,
six-person
he
alliance controlling the game, and unlike my season in Big Brother 12, I was on the outside of that alliance. Now I'm sitting in the final two, and purely because I had to deal with everyone else, just these little side deals, and that might get votes from everyone
right.
over Cody.
People come finale night might be upset with Cody. If you're in the if you were in the committee, people might be upset at you, right? And you know that's the thing. Like there might be enough votes outside of the committee to
Yeah,
you know vote for Enzo to win, right? What you hope doesn't happen is if it's one committee member versus a non-committee member, that the committee all go votes for that one committee member, and then next thing you know, it's a 5-4
yeah,
thing. I don't know if you guys can tell. I really don't like the committee. I really don't want any of them to win because I think, listen, you can say they're the best alliance of all time because they've had power every week except for one, but it was a pre-game alliance. This alliance was made before the game started, and it's not fair. It really is not fair. And Big Brother production not do a good enough job preventing pre-gaming from happening.
yeah. Um, but I think Enzo is in
Yeah,
a very good position to
back
win
then,
this game.
100%.
I still wouldn't say he's the favorite. Like if I had to put money on it, I went to Vegas tomorrow and I had to put money on it. I still would put my money on Tyler, but
Right.
I would put a good. I would say he's second in the betting odds if you want to go with betting
I,
odds.
I put money on Cody.
Yeah, I know
I
you'd
don't know
go.
if I said that.
Yeah,
If I said
I know
that.
you'd go with Cody, but I don't know. We disagree on that.
Yeah.
um, all right. With that being said, I guess that's a good way to go into Tyler now. So
Yeah.
Tyler had a good week this week. So Tyler laid low during the beginning of this week. Um, Obviously, there was more of a focus on David and Davon and that whole vote, and he wasn't even involved in that situation. So he's like, I don't need to be in these conversations, and I don't want to be in these conversations. So he wasn't. So he laid low until he found out what Memphis's plan was. And then he realized, hey, look, I figured out that Nicole, or sorry, until the until when they were picking players for the veto, because at that moment Tyler was like, hey, Davon and Kevin both chose uh, Nicole and Nicole and Danny over David. So obviously they're more loyal to Nicole and Danny, and they think that they can they're safe with them. So he was like, okay, there's a final three going on there between those three players, or at least a three-person alliance. So Tyler brought that information to his alliance members, like the ones he's closest with, and said, hey, look, this is happening, um, and we might want to switch the target this week. And Memphis came to him, said, throw the competition. I want to backdoor David. And he was like, no, like, I'm not going to do that. and even up to the veto, Memphis still thought he was going to, and then he won it. And he like talked. He had a good talk with him in like that little couch room. I don't know what it's called, but they have a little couch room. um, and then and Tyler was like, "Hey, like your plan is kind of not good. Like there's a clear 3-person alliance in this house, um, going on within our alliance even, and it might be time to get rid of Davon, to make that sub alliance a little bit less powerful because both David and Kevin after this week are both lone wolves. Like they have nobody. So those are numbers we could drag in. It's exactly what he was saying. So I think that Tyler played a good week this week. He's definitely dragged in David for sure to target Danny and what's her name? Danny and Nicole. He's definitely brought in David because David's now kind of has the same target now, and Tyler's kind of like ran this week in a way, even though it was Memphis's HOH. So Tyler played really well this week. So that's just what I wanted to say.
Yeah, I really don't have anything more to add to that. And I think we just covered Memphis as well there. Memphis wanted to backdoor David. Tyler told him his plan was stupid, and then what happened, right? That I think that's Memphis done too.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, Memphis did make that deal with David saying, "Hey, look, I'm not going to put you up
Yeah,
if you throw the veto." So he didn't plan on keeping that deal like a good deal, but it might have turned out to be a good for him that he didn't do that deal. That he actually went through with the deal basically because he didn't put him up. Um, so technically, I guess he did follow through with the deal, and that's a number that he might be able to drag in now. So Memphis, if he's still not thinking personally around David, he should definitely be trying to recruit him as a number. But he obviously
I,
does have a personal hatred towards David for some reason.
right.
So who
I,
knows?
I'm starting to think Memphis has a crush on David.
Why?
No, but really, you know what I'm thinking it might be? Because Dan's whole strategy was act like a weak player, right? And I wonder if Memphis thinks that, David's whole strategy of, I was the first one out of my season. I'm a very weak player. And Memphis, that's what Memphis thinks his strategy is, right?
Mm,
And he's like, well, if this guy's trying to do the Dan Giesling strat, that's not good, right?
mm-hmm.
And you know,
That's the Will Kirby
I
strat
really
too.
here's the thing. I really don't like Memphis's explanation. It doesn't sit well with me for why he wants David gone. You know, you want him gone because you don't think he deserves to be there. Okay, that doesn't sit well with me. It really doesn't. You know, and I get it. You don't think someone who was evicted first should be there. I get that. But you know what? I think he's shown you he has earned every right to be in this house because he's now in the final 9. He could be in the final 8. If all goes well this week,
Mm-hmm. I
right?
mean,
You know,
Tyler and Christmas promised him final 8. So
right. And if you still are going to go around saying David doesn't deserve to be here, I don't think that flies anymore. I think David's shown he deserves to be here. So to me, that doesn't sit well. And you don't get to the final 9 doing nothing.
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? David, they could have gotten rid of David by now so many times, right?
Yep.
So there's a reason David is still here, and it's not because he doesn't deserve to be here. He truly does deserve to be here. He's shown he can play. He can play with the best of them, right?
Yep.
It really makes me wonder how if David wasn't banished night 1 on last season, how
Mm-hmm.
how far would David have gone?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think David. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. There was a like a
Yeah,
kind of weaker cast last season, so
right.
like he could have
He could
done something probably,
he could have given Mickey a run for his money.
maybe. We'll never know though. Maybe that's why he
No,
was evicted night one. Maybe
really, yeah,
they knew.
exactly.
Maybe they knew. Um,
They knew.
but with that being said, I think Memphis is playing smart. I realize though that he might be going into the same trouble he had in BB10, where he had final twos with everyone in the house, and Dan read him
Mhm.
like a book, knowing that, and then he had to backstab pretty much everyone. Because now what he's done
Yep.
is he's created a final three with both Christmas and Cody, and if one of those two don't make it to the final three because of Memphis, or for some reason, if Memphis is connected to that reason, it could blow up in his face, just like it did in season 10 when he had a final two with Jerry and a final two with Dan and a final two with that hairdresser. What was her? Or no,
Keisha,
Keisha, but also I think he also had a final two with the hairdresser, whatever her name was. So
Rennie.
Rennie,
Yeah,
I love Rennie. Um,
me too.
so
I wish he came back.
I don't think he's coming back, but
No.
Um,
Imagine,
but yeah,
imagine.
he had a final two with all those people, and then he was only loyal to the one with Dan, which was a good choice. That's the one you should have been loyal
Imagine the
to.
fights.
But
Imagine the fights if Rennie was in the house.
crazy. But anyways, we're not
That,
crazy.
that's discussion for a later off-season
That's
podcast.
an off season. That's an off season podcast. We could have a whole podcast
Hey,
about.
hey, hey, audience, leave a like if you want to see us talk about that.
All right, yeah. um, and then yeah, so Memphis might be getting into that same issue as last time, but at least he's securing his way to like final four, final three territory. So that's good for him. I still don't think he's any favorite for America's favorite player though. Definitely not. Um, but with that being said, we can move on to Cody because I don't have anyone else to move on to. uh, so Cody made a final three deal with Enzo and Memphis this week, but other than that, was kind of quiet. I mean, he didn't really need to do anything. I know you still like him as the winner of this game, um, but I don't know. To me, he's just fed information, and like he does know what to do with the information, but he doesn't get the information. And like unlike Tyler, who gets the information and knows what to do with the information, which is why I like him to win. But we'll see. um, but Cody's interesting. I mean, I think even after the big alliance splits up, Cody's still looking pretty good in this game. So I don't think Cody's got anything to worry about. Kind of insignificant week for him, but that's all I
Yeah,
really got to say about Cody.
he was very insignificant this week, but I think everyone is going to be very significant from now on. We just how little players there are left, and now that the fact that the big alliance is going to be splitting, and then all the free agents are going to get picked up, everyone's going to be significant this week. So, but yeah, like Cody, you're right. He's doing well, right? With the fact that he's got the alliance protecting him. He doesn't have any blood on his hands, right? He's playing the way a winner plays.
Yeah, I
So
mean he's playing the way an all-star plays, though.
yeah,
So, but
yeah.
yeah, Cody's interesting. Um, and then I guess who haven't we talked about? We haven't talked about Danny, Nicole, and Christmas. So, those three actually are kind of connected because they had a funny scene where Danny, Nicole, and Christmas were all taking a bath together, and then Nicole fell out of the bathtub. That was pretty funny. But anyways, uh,
That was so funny.
Christmas, she played well this week. Once again, kind of laying low. She was a have not this week too. Um, and Davon basically picked her, and she got pretty mad at Davon for making her a have-not, but didn't hold the grudge, I guess, because it didn't lead to a bigger fight, but there was like a little like a little tension after that happened between the two. Um,
Yeah.
but Christmas also secured David as a number for later on, made a final 8 deal with him. So we'll see what happens with David. Now they both have the same targets. And yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say about Christmas. Pretty
Yeah.
quiet week other than those couple points. And then I wanted to save Danny and Nicole for last because they're kind of a
Yeah.
package deal at this point. So they're pretty much the new Bailey and Davon in this house. They're kind of latched together.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like, at least. And Nicole is one of my favorite players in this house, and Danny's not. So it's kind of a weird thing for me because one part of me
Yeah.
wants to cheer for them, and another part of me is like, eh. but
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but anyways, that's just my personal kind of thing that I'm going through right now. But I think they're in trouble, especially with it being a triple eviction this week. They're probably the
Talk about that later.
first committee members gone.
Yeah.
I imagine Danny goes home first and then Nicole. And I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise that Nicole is going to be one of the first committee members out, even from before the season started. Um, Basically, just because she's a former winner, you know. So
Yeah.
it doesn't surprise me that she would be one of the first people out. But Danny, she kind of wrote her own, sunk her own ship. I mean, Tyler connected it pretty easily, and figured out why he's been on the block. Tyler is obviously closely aligned with every single other person in this house. Um, Cody, especially, also wants to target Danny, it seems like. So she might be in some trouble this week. And if one of those two people get in power, I think that Danny goes on the block pretty like easily. I don't think anyone uh, is going to put up just David and Kevin again. I don't think it's going to be a boring week. Um, I think that Danny and Nicole should be scared right now. And if I were Nicole, I would start making sure you're good with Christmas. Um, just because you need some security. Danny, on the other hand, I don't really think I think a lot of people in her alliance have been onto her for a long time. Even when Enzo was head of household a couple weeks ago, Enzo didn't like him, and then Cody was like, "Yeah, I don't really like her either." So you could see that like one of her alliance members in Cody wasn't really starting to like her. She obviously put up Tyler, so that's an obvious reason to go against Danny. So and Danny hasn't been the most loyal to that alliance, anyways. So Danny might be in big trouble more than Nicole. Because I think Nicole's still friendly with Cody. Nicole's still got some relationships going in the house. So, but that's basically those two covered on my half.
Yeah. I couldn't. I can't really add anything to that. You said that well. That yeah, they're probably the first ones in order to go. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
I really don't have anything to add to that.
All right.
We can move on to talking about
Yeah. So,
this week. This is going to be the most interesting week of Big Brother this season,
so before we
potentially in history.
before we start, obviously this week is the first ever triple eviction in Big Brother U.S. history. I should mention
Yeah,
Big Brother U.S.
U.S.
history.
history.
It has happened in Big Brother Canada and in some other
It's a
versions of Big
staple.
Brother, but
I love it.
Big Brother U.S. history and perfect timing too. Right when the committee's like at its like part, like right when it's gonna break, triple eviction. Everyone's not gonna know what to do, and it's gonna be
Yes,
hectic because everyone's gonna be
they do.
targeting committee members, and they're gonna be like, it's a triple eviction. Time to go. It might be time that maybe Danny and Nicole aren't a part of the triple eviction, and maybe one of the bigger targets goes home. maybe someone like a Tyler, maybe someone like Kyle, Cody, maybe one of those big like potential winners of this game goes home this week because they have no time to even think. This is going to be a
Yeah.
crazy week.
This is going to be Big Brother with a rocket shoved right up its bum.
And I love that Dr. Will is now the neighbor.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I imagine he's gonna host the Power of Veto competition. I imagine he's gonna be very
Zotev.
active this week.
Well, the POV's Otev.
Is it for sure?
Yeah, Julie said it's Otev.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear that. But anyways, I'm sure
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll see a lot of him,
Yeah.
which I love.
But
And
you know,
I mean,
he said that there's going to be the HOH and the POV is going to involve lots of cash, lots of prizes. So they have to make a choice this week. Do you want power or do you want stuff?
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe Tyler will pick a trampoline over Power of Veto. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Maybe you get a situation where back in VV16 when Victoria won the Power of Veto because people chose stuff over the veto.
It was so funny when Dr. Will chose a trampoline and he had the choice of winning the Power of Veto.
No. He chose the trampoline and he put the house on slot for choosing the trampoline.
Oh yeah. That's what it was.
Dude, that's a win-win for Dr. Will.
It was
putting the house on slop and getting a trampoline. Come on, that is a win-win for Dr. Will.
And when the trampoline got there, he was so happy. He was like a little kid again. It was that's one of my favorite Big Brother moments too. But anyways,
oh, that was hilarious.
We could get into a whole off-season episode about favorite Big Brother moments. But
yeah, we're planning the off-season out right now, guys. Like
yeah,
it's almost time. Like in a month, we might be
doing off-season videos, which I'm very excited for.
I got some ideas. So,
but anyways, with that being said, this might be a very interesting week. I have no idea what's going to happen, and who knows? The house doesn't know that it's a triple eviction too. So,
dude, we have to predict. Are we doing a prediction? We're for 3 weeks for the Big Brother.
I mean,
let's just predict who's gonna go.
Okay.
Who are the 3 people who leave?
So we're not gonna predict head of households because that's pretty hard to predict.
That's impossible.
Especially because we don't even know who the head of household this week is. But what's crazy is that what I was just thinking of is that one of those like big people might win this head of household thinking that it's like the time the committee's going to break. So this week's an important week to win the head of household. But if one of those big targets like a Cody or Tyler or Enzo or any of those guys end up winning the head of household and not being able to play in the triple eviction, that might be a big problem for them because one of those guys might be on the block and come triple eviction time.
So someone could be the HOH twice in the same night. Wait, what? No, yeah. Because if whoever wins HOH this Sunday will be the HOH come Thursday night. So they won't be able to play in the second week's worth of HOH, but they'll play in the third week's.
Well, I mean, I know what Big Brother Canada does is they did 3 people on the block, and then you vote for the person you want to stay.
I don't think they'll do that because they're doing a 2-hour episode.
True.
So I think they're just going to do 3 straight weeks worth of Big Brother in a night.
That would be crazy.
Because you can do the double eviction in the hour, but you can't do the triple.
That'll be crazy. That'll be crazy.
Yeah.
But anyways, I think that one of those big guys are in some trouble this
I'll
triple
tell you
eviction. So I'll tell you what. Okay, wait. You go first, and I'll tell you what I think is going to happen next.
Okay, I'm not going to name who's going to go, but I'm going to say all 3 people leaving our committee.
So I agree with that. But these are I'm willing to predict my 3 that are going to go.
Go for it.
So I'm going to say Danny goes out first. I think Danny goes out in like a normal week. It seems like this is her like normal week eviction. Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So Danny goes out this week. I'm going to say I'm gonna say one of the three players I mentioned earlier, Cody, Tyler, Enzo. I'm gonna say one of those three people go out the next time, and then I'm gonna say, let's go with Nicole goes out on the third eviction. So I'm going Danny, Tyler, Cody, or Enzo. One of those three. Nicole. That's my
Okay,
prediction.
I'm gonna go Danny first. I'll agree with you on that one. Memphis second, Nicole third.
I think Memphis is okay. I think Memphis.
Yeah.
He secured a lot of final threes this week, and now he's kind of looking okay. So I
That's
think
true.
Memphis is okay. Plus, I don't think
Yeah.
I think Memphis has pissed enough people off that
Yeah.
come finale night, if you're sitting next to them in final two, you're winning. So I think he's
You
okay.
you know what I hope happens on Thursday? Julie's gonna tell them that it's a double eviction, right? Or that's like instead of telling them it's a triple eviction, tell them it's a double,
And
right?
then
So then the
that
second
ends.
person goes, and then once the second person goes, she goes that guy's like, house guests, I lied. Tonight, a third person will be leaving the house, and
And
then the house guests are gonna be in so much shock.
and then Dr. Will just be standing there like, "Hey guys, I knew this was gonna happen."
No. Doctor will be standing there being like, "You reap what you sow."
Yeah, and um, I guess that's a good place to basically end the triple eviction. I do just want to talk about Dr. Will is back. Love it.
For a
Um,
week. For a week.
for a week, but
Yeah, unfortunately.
this gives me hope that he will be in the jury conversation in some way. That gives me
He will be. He will be.
I have good hope in that now. So hopefully we get
Yeah.
to see the jury conversation with Dr. Will, because
Mm-hmm.
that's what we need. That's what we need right now. Um,
Yeah.
with the world the way it is, that's the number one thing we need. Just joking.
Yeah.
um, there's bigger things we need, but that I want to see that. So, but Dr. Will, yeah, it's gonna be an interesting week, and I love seeing Dr. Will back in the house or
This makes
this
me
week.
wish. This makes me wish Janelle and Kaser were in the house still.
Yeah, that would have been fun. Maybe he'll be at finale night. There'll be some reunion. Who knows?
Yeah.
We'll see. What would be sick is if
No.
they had at finale night, they had like some of the other like all-star players, like greats, like Dan, like other people just kind of inside the show. That'd be a cool way
But
to
that
do
means
finale night.
that means they'll have to be in sequester like right now, just to
True,
show up for finale night. I
true.
don't think
So
it's
maybe
happening.
not. Maybe not. Maybe
maybe like
in a
virtually.
normal all-star season, we might have been able to see that. But you're right.
Virtually they can show up.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. It'll be a
Yes.
interesting night, but that's still quite some time away. That's a couple weeks from now. But with
Yeah.
that being said, I think this is a good place to end the episode. Thank you guys for listening. Once again, follow us on Instagram at Big Brother in Our House, and we hope to see you in the next one. Thank you. Peace.
Peace.